We've got fuel pressure. Let's see if this thing starts. Okay, so gaskets for my new exhaust manifold off a WRX, a new HWRX, or well, it's actually off an STI, but they're the same. But this one's been ported and polished, so this one's a little bit nicer. And what I'm going to do is loosely assemble these bits, get that in the car. I've got a horrible feeling, and I don't know why that has that on it. And I've got a horrible feeling I'm going to find out it's too late. Can't see there being any specific reason for it. I'm pretty certain it'll go this side. I'm only doing this here because it saves me going under the car. Again. They're for the turbo, so I don't need them yet. And that's for the up part, which again I don't need yet. Let's go chuck this on the car. So there's no top and bottom on these, but I'm going to assume this pressed ring part goes on here, only because I can see an outline of the old ones that looks very similar. We'll go with that. And I imagine the cylinder head's perfectly smooth. Right, let's go chuck this on. Now's a good time to work out what you're going to do with all your fittings. We've got this, your oil return, which you can see just goes down to the bottom of the block. Then you've got your coolant line here. Now I'm using the TD05 18G, a genuine one. It doesn't have coolant going in it, so I can remove that blank there, the top one of the two, which is the coolant supply, and get rid of that, bung that all up. The bottom one's obviously your oil drain, so I'll keep that, but I'll need a new pipe, I reckon. And then the oil feed is, oh, where is it now? It's there. Look, you can just see the line I've cut by accident. This not an accident, cut through that, but it don't matter because I'm gonna get a flexi one anyway. So yeah, you want to take that out. And then same the other side. If we go over, you can just see down there, same, but you want to blank all them off. On your primary side, your oil feed is here. That focus. There we go. And it comes with this cap. Well, I say cap, it's a joiner for another pipe. But what I've done is I've cut a very, very small piece of alley. It's just go in there and just poked it down. It's about the right size. I reckon if I tighten that down, that should seal that.
There's one trick that I found, or one really good bit of information for you, and that is the coolant plug on the side of the block, or the coolant outlet, is an M12 by 125 thread. You can buy off eBay a BMW sump plug, a sump plug with a copper washer, and it is an M12 by 125. I'm going to show you where it goes.
There. I'm gonna have to loosen off the muck pipes, aren't I? I'm gonna have to. That's a pain. Next thing I'm gonna do is do these turbo brackets. So, try and get the partners in for you. These two are the single turbo stays, and they go on here like this. So you've got that way around there. What I've done is circle the two bolts that you're going to use, the two studs on the up pipe, and that's only in loose. What I'm going to do is get it in position. That goes on there like that. Yeah, we'll do that one, and then I don't want it to get in the way of my oil drain because I haven't figured out what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put them on, fasten up the exhaust manifold, and then take them back off again. I'm happy to say that all that fits, and it fits underneath, and you don't need the single turbo cross member, although you do if you want to bolt it up, but we'll just make our own little bracket. I'll show you. See, that will line up. The only thing that won't line up is those two brackets, but that's not a problem. We'll cut one, we'll bend it, make it fit. I was sure that the centre exhaust on this would line up. On the test fit it looked perfect, but on actual, about 90mm too long. However, good tip for you, if you get the Hayward and Scott centre pipe, comes, I don't know if you can see, comes a two-piece anyway. Comes a two-piece, you can slide it out, it's called slip joint. There, that's the pipe. At this end, I always have done is wrap some tape around 90mm and cut that off slip joint. Means I haven't got to re-weld that end. The last piece of fitting the hardware is obviously exhaust centre pipe. So I've cut the 90mm off the other end. I decided to do a new piece here. So I've just got a little flexi. This is 2.5 inch with 3-inch adapter, 3-inch flange. The wrong gasket, because it should be one of them with a metal thing around it. But they've sent me the wrong 3 times. It's going on. It'll do for the map, and then I'll change it again later. I'm not going to show you a close-up of my welds because I don't want them immortalised. They're not that pretty, but they work. And this was just me testing for leaks. That's all. Right, let's get this on. There you go. Look, you can see the 3-inch downpipe with a lambda bunged up, 2.5 down to 2.5 inch flexi, straight back slip joint there. That really helps. Should help with expansion, and the flexi will take some of the stress off the downpipe and the turbo. Always need a flexi. Once I was happy with the way the turbo was mounted, take it off again, fit the gaskets, get all that nutted and bolted, and then time to fit the intake manifold. The intake manifold, you can see, having a bit of an argument with myself really on where I could put the fuel pressure regulator. None of the pipes seemed to want to go where they wanted, so I ended up disconnecting it, fitting the intake manifold, getting it nutted, bolted down, and then refitting that bit afterwards where I could find suitable. You'll see that a little bit later on. This is the black box of death. Quite well documented. Now then, I've cut these off rough just to show you. You only need the yellows. That's your atmospheric pressure switching sensor. This is the boost solenoid that you don't need. That's your map sensor. We're gonna get rid of this, and I've got rid of all the sensors that sit there and all the other cables that are in there. That's this mess on the floor. Literally took everything away except that. That one is going in the bin, and that, she'll need them. You see what I've done is chose to like butcher the old
boost port solenoid thing, so I can keep the bracket, which has allowed me to fit the Mac 3 port. I fit it upside down because port 1, just see, port 1 labelled there is just a vent. So that's vent to atmosphere, or you can plumb that in back after your MAF. You can plug it in if you want, but I'm not gonna bother. Number 3 is boost only. So number 3 is going to there, which is this one. I'll label these up to help me. And then port 2 is connects to the wastegate actuator. So again, that'll poke out the other side too. So I'm using the old black box. I think it looks better that way. All the sensors are where the looms will reach. The only difference is my 3 port, and I've binned everything to do with the twin turbo. When prepping your intercooler, you need that hose clamp on first, because you can't get to that one. Well, I don't think you can once it's fitted. Also, with this STI one, you'll notice this gap between here and here is narrower than it is on the twin turbo one. So unfortunately, you've got to do a bit of cutting. You've got to cut that piece out there. Mine's cut and then folded underneath, then rattle canned with underbody protection, and then greased. You've also got to move this earth. It was there. Again, rattle canned under spray, covered in grease, and I've moved it to there. Took it back to bare metal, moved it, tightened it up, and greased it again. Same with that earth wire at it. And anywhere else where I've seen the backs of threads, on this pitch, man, I'll just stick a bit of grease on that. Don't do them any harm. Right, then we've got to try and wrestle this intercooler on. You can see where it's got to go. I've kind of cut that at a bit of an angle at the moment. It's not the neatest of cuts, but the gap at the top on mine is thinner than the gap at the bottom, so it's got to be cut at a bit of an angle. And that one, you've just got to keep trialing it and cut off what you need. Your standard ones definitely won't fit. Also, what I've done, this bracket here that holds the hose clamps is normally fitted to the top and holds these up. I've just flipped it underneath, clipped it on the bottom, and now it holds the hoses a little bit lower. You also need to do that. All right, let's try and wrestle this thing on. There isn't much in the way of vacuum lines on the single turbo now. I've got this line here, this one that's too long is my boost gauge for inside the car. I've got these 3 coming out what was the black box. 2 of them intercept on this line here. They're not long enough yet, I'm going to swap them. And one of them is the manifold, the atmospheric pressure difference sensor that needs to go to one of them. I've got to refer to my photo to remember which one of these I plugged into what, at the inside of that, but that's not hard, I've got more of this. So at the moment that one's going over there, that one's going inside the car, and I think the excess has to go back inside. This one is for that, and no, I was wrong, this one goes there. So this one goes onto your fuel pressure reg. I need to cut that down to length. Yeah, so ooh, I'm gonna have to do a T-piece. Oh, one of them can go there, look. There's an excess port here. That's brilliant. So that one's gonna go in my black box. Those 2 there. That one's boost gauge. That one you don't need. I've just capped it off for now just to make sure. Yeah, so let's get them tidied up. Nice. When setting up the boost controller, what I've done is obviously utilised the standard black box. This bottom one here, I've just double checked, is definitely the atmospheric pressure. So that one's just going straight to this outlet on the inlet manifold. I've took off the hose that did go from the wastegate straight to the boost pressure reference. So now the boost pressure reference line needs to go to port 3 on your Mac 3 port, and port 3 on my particular one, because I took a photo of it and I remembered, is that one, and port 2, which is your back to your wastegate, so your wastegate know how much pressure there is there.
So that's how it should be set up. Boost reference into your solenoid, and then your wastegate line back in, and then your ECU can then control that MAC, or at least the link ECU's going in. I haven't wired it up yet, but I will do that. There's a trick to that. Pretty pleased with that. I think we're ready for a test fire up. If everything goes well, fuel pressure X should go up to about 2.5. I did talk to Roger Clark. They said 2.25 turns in on the diaphragm on that should get me to about 3 bar. And when you're setting it, that needs to be disconnected. So we'll leave that disconnected for now. I'll fire it up, we'll connect it up and see what happens. We've got fuel pressure. Let's see if this thing starts. Sounds lovely. Obviously, that's not plugged in yet. That should help. Fuel pressure looks okay. We'll just test it, unplug that. That should go up to 3. Yeah. Pleased with that. Oil blank that I did down there, that's working. Can't see any leaks.